Hi, Cliff Break from Beck Systems. Today we're going to talk about standing up a simple IoT system in the cloud. And simple IoT in the cloud, we typically couple that with Grafana and InfluxDB. So InfluxDB gives us time series historical data, and Grafana gives us graphs, fancy graphs, dashboards, and a nice looking UI. So there's two pieces we need in the cloud. We need a server and we need a domain name. So for the server, we're going to use Linode. You can also use DigitalOcean, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. Any of these cloud providers will give you a server, fairly low cost. So to create a server, you log into your Linode account, create a Linode, select a region close to you. If it's a small instance, I typically use a shared plan, and those start at $5 a month. Enter root password, and then SSH keys are useful if you don't want to mess with passwords, so typically I use those. And then just click Linode. In a few minutes you'll have a server, so it's really easy, anybody can do it. And then once it's running, so I already did this, so this server's already running, but it is currently a blank server right now. So I'm going to copy the IP address and then go to the console and just make sure we can log in. So let's SSH root at server. Boom, we're in. Okay, so that looks good. So now the other thing we need is a domain for this for the services we're going to put on this server. So for that, you can use GoDaddy or Namecheap or any of the DNS registries. And I use Namecheap in spite of the name. They're a really nice service, no nonsense. So let's see. Let's go to here. Let's see. I'm having trouble finding my domains. Oops, we're not signed in. So let's sign in here. And then simpleiot.org is the domain we're going to create these services for. So click Manage, click Advanced DNS, and Show More. So these are all the subdomains that are currently registered for Simple IoT. So we're going to stand up services for three subdomains: Graphs, Influx, and Portal. And notice these are all pointing to the same IP address. So when you go to this one of these subdomains, we run the Caddy web server, and Caddy will look at the domain and then figure out how to route it to the particular service running on the server. Okay, so we have our two pieces in the cloud set up, our server and our domain. Now we're going to use Ansible to actually set up the server and deploy stuff to it. So Ansible is a deployment tool that allows you to automate server setups, and this is really nice because you can do it once and then repeat it on many servers, and also it gives you the ability to rebuild a server very quickly in the event that one should fail. And I'm talking through this, so it's going pretty slow, but I can really run through this process in probably 5-10 minutes. It's not that hard. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is run an init process, and this basically just sets up sudo and users. And this is kind of specific to me, but it's really basic. We basically just set up a user and then set up authorized keys for SSH. And these are keys from my various computers that I want to be able to access this server from. So let's run Ansible playbook. Let me show you one other thing. So we also need an inventory file which has IP addresses for all of our servers. So we're going to call this server SIOT2, and this is the IP address. So in the Ansible playbook, include the inventory file, the playbook we want to run, and then we're going to limit it to the SIOT2 server. Otherwise, it would run this init process on all the servers in my inventory file, which I don't really want to do. So again, this is setting up users in sudo, and then once this is set up, I won't have to use the root user anymore. I can just log in as cbreak. Now if I go SSH cbreak at yep, my cbreak account works. So now the next thing we're going to do is run a more advanced playbook, and this is the one that actually installs everything. So we're going to install 4 things. We're going to install the Caddy web server. There's another thing here, SSH config is another thing that disables root login, requires SSH keys, and a few security things like that. Here's the Grafana section, InfluxDB2, and then the actual Simple IoT section. Now with Grafana here, I have an email service set up, so I've deleted the SMT user and passwords, but you can fill those in. And so this is it. So let's go ahead and run it. Production ct2.yml. Okay, so this will run through the steps in each one of these roles. And the way Ansible works is it's kind of a declarative. It'll look at the role and make the server match it. So if there's nothing to do, it'll say skipping. But since it's the first time this playbook is run, we see it's changing stuff for most of the things. And again, it's just going through everything. We could do all this manually, but it would take, a good bit of time to set all this up manually. And if we can figure it out once and then document in an Ansible role, then we can really speed up our server deployments. Okay, so that ran. And if we run it again, you'll notice that all these things say OK, which means it didn't have to change anything. It verified that the server's set up and there's really nothing to do. So if our playbook is set up right, at the end we should see that this playbook did nothing. Okay, so at the end it says OK is 34 and changed to 0, so that's what we like to see. Okay, let's go back to the browser and see if these services work. So the first one we're going to try is Simple Portal. There we go. Log in with the default. So that looks good. Let's try Influx next. Okay, so that looks good. We have a blank Influx install. And the last one we're going to try is Grafana. Great, so all 3 services appear to be running. And notice these are all secure URLs using TLS, and Caddy gives us that automatically. So we don't have to request any certs or anything. Caddy uses a couple different services that offer free SSL certs for websites. And and that's it. We have a complete cloud Simple IoT system set up and ready to go. So perhaps in the future I'll show how to kind of use these three pieces, Simple IoT, Influx, and Grafana together, and lots of interesting stuff to come. Thanks.